Well done, yay! I've just been looking on your website again, and I was just reading, you know, your little bit about your description about your mission.
Oh yeah, that's been the mission the whole time, really. I'll just grab these things from yesterday. Yeah, I think from the word go, that's been what the mission's about. Yeah.
I'll just read it out. It says to reconnect with the lost wisdom of our ancestors in learning how to live self-sufficiently within the boundaries of the natural resources around us, and to pass this knowledge on to both this generation and the next in a fun and accessible way.
Yeah, that's quite a wordy version of it. Yeah, I do remember writing that. What my short version is, our mission is to empower you to provide for yourselves using the natural resources around you. So yeah.
And you've got a really interesting background, because did you learn to be able to be pretty self-sufficient as you were growing up?
Yeah, well, because I grew up with my dad and my granddad. They were very much well, my granddad was a war man, so it was all kind of make, do and mend, and my dad was a hippie, so it was make, do and mend. So they came to it from very different angles, but yeah, they shared that kind of thrift value and the idea that if you couldn't make it or grow it, you know, it didn't happen.
Can you remember doing things when you were little, like wrapping up potato peelings in newspapers? And can you remember anything that you used to do, any of your little chores that you had to do?
Yeah, I used to breed rabbits, and we used to always make rabbit hutches and cages out of old wardrobes and chests of drawers. So I remember in the back garden, and my pop and I sawing and drilling. So he was teaching me woodwork and stuff. I've even got a photograph of him when I was about 2, because they raised me from very little, like 1.5, 2, of him, and he was bricklaying, and I was there helping him.
Oh, so that's really sweet. Yeah. Were they working from home? Were you working on a farm or something? I've just got this image.
No, just a normal house, just a normal 3-bedroom semi in a coastal town of northeast of England. But no, they just had those values in a normal urban estate, really. We had a decent sized back garden, but yeah. In fact, it was big enough to build a bungalow for my pop-in, my granddad.
Oh.
So that, yeah, we didn't always get on. So my dad built him a bungalow in the back garden to kind of separate us.
Yeah, that's lovely. Because I remember growing up where dad used to grow all his veggies down our garden. They bought a really old house, you know, like when nobody wanted them in the 70s, like an old stone house, and it were a right mess when they bought it, and they did it up, and it like 300 years old, and then we had all our veggies down the bottom, and it was just amazing. Yeah, it were really great. And I always
compost places are great places to hang out as kids, aren't they? Like there's always amazing stuff to see in a compost heap when you're a kid.
We used to have safaris around the garden and things like that, and we were always making things like perfume, and you know, we had ducks and chickens, and it was really nice.
Rose petals in water never worked as perfume, did it? However hard it tried.
No, it didn't. So
really warm.
Are you warm enough?
I am actually. I'm sat in the sun. Yeah. So was that in? Did you grow up in Yorkshire accent? Haven't you?
Yeah, I did. I'm actually, I'm like I say, I'm on the East Coast now at Mum and Dad's. But we grew up in Leeds.
Oh right, because I thought I saw that you lived in Bristol or something.
Yeah, I do now. Yeah, I do.
Oh, you live in Bristol?
Yeah, I met my husband in Singapore.
How long are you up here for?
I don't know. It depends on what's going on.
Did you choose to lock down up here then to be with your parents?
Yeah. I saw you'd been making some salt the other day.
Yeah, I got loads. Yeah, so much more than even in the book, because somebody sent me a chapter out of their book. I didn't follow any instructions. I just went with common sense, you know. It's like evaporate the water and you get left with salt. Anyway, she sent me a picture in a book, and it said that the yield is 3 to 4%. So when I worked mine out, the yield was 5%. So at least now I know what the kind of optimum maximum is, and now I can try other methods, you know, like fire or solar or whatever, knowing what the perfect ratio is.
But what did
So
you do? I mean, how did you get that amount of salt water? What did you do? Fill up some big, massive water containers and lugged it all back and boiled it up on your stove?
yeah, basically. Only one jerry can. It wasn't like loads. It was 120-litre jerry can. So to be honest, it would have been difficult carrying any more than that. It's really heavy is water. So
because I saw on Facebook you'd written a little message saying, please can somebody remind me to turn it off. I thought I'll remind you.
It was getting a little bit late in the evening. I thought I've still got loads more to evaporate and I am so tired. I thought I'll probably just walk upstairs and forget all about the pan in the kitchen. Yeah, got it all done.
Did you clean it or anything, or what? How did you get imperfections out, or did you just trust that it'll be all right because it's salt?
Believe it or not, our coastal water is not the kind of it had bad reputation a long time ago, but so much has been done. It's not as bad as it used to be, and I have test strips. I like to test everything for everything. I'm just because I think I was raised by a chemist. Litmus paper is my favorite, like. The seawater in its most concentrated for like about 10 different things: mercury, copper, lead, nitrates, nitrites, chloride. Fine.
So that's good. So what are you going to use your salt for? Just cooking? Anything you feel?
Yeah. On everything, anything. It's very nice. It's very tasty.
Yeah. I bet it is. I usually buy I can't remember the make of them, but they're like a Cornish company and they come in like, proper crystals. So I tried to get, I wish I could go out and make my own salt like that. I wouldn't have ever dreamt of doing that. But when I saw that, I thought, wow, why not? It really is good to see people doing things like this. The Wild Harvest School of Self-Reliance. Tell us about that.
Well, I set Wild Harvest up about 15 years ago now, when I lived up on the moor, just before I went off-grid actually, and I was just teaching, what was I doing, selling candles, beeswax candles and hedgerow cordials and herbal teas, selling them from the cottage door, and I was selling them through like the Moors Centre, National Park Centres and local cafes. And then I started teaching wild food walks and just kind of gradually adding things, as I learned a skill or a craft, then I'd start teaching. I'm a qualified teacher. And it was kind of done from any craft courses were from the kitchen table, really, in my house. So, yeah. And we've grown and grown. So, which gives me hope for the future of the world, that people want to learn this kind of stuff now.
That's what I was going to ask you, if you notice more people becoming interested.
I think it did help move into York, to be honest, because in the North Yorkshire moors, you don't have the number of people within a certain radius. So moving to York, obviously you've got a lot more people on your doorstep, other than just sheep, which is what it's like up there. And also having the space on this farm to be able to have the TiPis accommodation then meant I had a national market, and even obviously people from abroad as well. By offering accommodation, people could come and stay. So like to make it worse. Sun's gone in now. I'm going to put my top back on.
It's like that up here, isn't it? It'll be snowing in a minute. I think people, when you say you live up north, they don't believe that it can really change that much, and it's absolutely freezing one minute and red hot the next minute. Yeah, because I've burnt my face. I was doing my exercises out in the sun, and it's an hour standing, because I told you I practice Fallandaffa, and I stand out in the sun for an hour, and then I burnt on my nose and my cheeks. I've got like really red,
healthy glow.
So you Wild Harvest School, I want to come. I can't remember how one of my friends who we were in the air training cadets when we were in our teens.
Oh, wow.
He I suddenly said to him, I just want to get back to doing what I'm interested in, which is pretty much this, obviously I said to him my path sort of took a different turn, and I got in touch with him, and he just said, I can link you and tell you about all these things, and he told me about the Off-Grid Survival Show. Is that the right name for it?
Yeah, the Off-Grid Survival Show.
Yeah, is that yours? Did you set that up?
I did, yes, yeah. I thought it was time for a national show. I thought I've seen such a resurgence of interest in the desire to upskill and downshift that, you know, we're ready for a national show in it now. So
I was so glad, because like you said, it's like our, you know, it's like not people keeping these things alive, like you are, and probably a lot of people, you know, they've sort of always been on the fringes, like it's not an important thing, but it is probably the most important thing to keep going, like, if you ask me, you know, to be able to look after ourselves. So when you told me about that, I thought that's a really good idea, and I was really pleased to see it being mainstream, you know, and like it's actually accessible for anybody, and if you've got an audience, that's really positive, isn't it?
yes, yeah. Well, that was exactly my point. I wanted to take, you know, the possibilities to mainstream, rather than kind of keep it in the existing alternative community. The whole point is that kind of take the possibilities to the masses, really, so that everybody should have a right to access this information, you know, and these opportunities, really.
I've actually got a friend who lives down, I can't remember, Lewes, I think it's sort of in between.
Near Brighton.
Yeah,
Is that near Brighton?
Yeah, and she knows one of the guys who you were getting as a speaker, Fraser, the coastal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my elfin brother. We always joke, we're elfin brother and sister. Yeah, so the Off-Grid Survival Show, it's been chosen for Newark Showground, chose the event location at, so it's central in the country and easy for people to get to. It's also got a big indoor space. But the principle behind the show is it's an unashamedly education-based show, and it is aimed at upskilling, helping people to upskill so that they can downshift, which sounds like a paradox. But obviously the more skills you have, the less things you need. So yeah, it's the idea of empowering people to upskill so they can downshift and form a community around that. So we're going to have things like diggers and dreamers there. We talk about communal living. We'll have people that sell plots of land, lots of different skills represented. But it's unashamedly education, basically. It's not about food, really. It's not about music. There'll be those things there, but it's education and kind of empowerment. Yeah.
There were a lot of bushcraft skills as well there, I noticed.
There's a big craft element, but that is one element of the show, because we're going to have like livestock animals there. There'll be energy kind of things, so there'll be other aspects of the show that aren't kind of bushcrafty, but bushcraft obviously is an element of self-reliance in nature, so that's why they're there. Yeah,
and then there's another girl who's going to be speaking about mushrooms, Lisa Cutledge.
Yeah, Cutcliffe. Yeah, do you know her?
I don't know her, but she lives near my sister. So that was quite, we've got a lot of connections, it seems. It's quite nice, you know.
Yeah, Lisa's lovely and amazing. We've got so many amazing speakers, and I feel so grateful that they've put their faith in me with it being a first year show. But I think we all know that I just don't sleep, you know, that I'm a workaholic and I'm quite kind of disciplined and efficient. So yeah.
Because
so far so good.
Is it so your Wild Harvest School of Self-Reliance, do you actually have people come in and you teach them skills and crafts, and what sort of things do you teach them when they come and stay with you?
There's two sides to that business, actually. Wild Harvest side, one side is the School of Self-Reliance, where people come on either day courses or wild food walks, day courses in things like rag rugging, natural toiletries making, all local, and basket weaving. Bit of natural navigation we teach, so we do like local from the venue day courses and walks. We do the York Wild Food Walk, but then the other side of Wild Harvest is the glamping and activity breaks. So if you're a group and you're looking to get away for the weekend, you could either stay on our TiPis site in York, or we now work with other affiliate glamp sites around the country who take our groups. And the idea is it's not just like glamping, you have to take our activities. So then the groups will book, say, natural toiletries and a forage, or they might book instinctive archery and flower crown making. So, yeah, so we've kind of got Wild Harvest TiPis and activities and Wild Harvest School of Self-Reliance.
That, must keep you busy. That's like 2 jobs.
And then the show as well. And I'm writing 2 books.
What are your books
on the go?
What are your books about?
I've got Barefoot Self-Reliance, which is kind of, in a way, it's everything that I've ever learned about self-reliance, wrapped around my biog. So that's Barefoot Self-Reliance. And then the other book, I run a course called Teach Foraging, because I'm a qualified teacher of 25 odd years. I'm showing my age there. So I'm very passionate about getting structure to wild food walks and getting safety and sustainability built into the teaching of wild food. So I'm now teaching foraging teachers. So I do this course here. It's a 4-day residential called Teach Foraging. But I'm writing a book to go with that. So yeah, I've got books to get on with as well. So that's why lockdown isn't bothering me. Lockdown's not bothering me at all, because like you get to work from home.
Yeah, you can really get on with stuff, and you don't feel guilty that you're not out doing other things because you're not allowed to do that at the minute. Well, allowed, but
yeah, I ended up obviously we've had to cancel a lot of courses. So we'll just have to wait till lockdown ends and then kind of just pick them all back up.
Yeah, people will be really People will be really grateful for it as well, won't they? They'll be really looking forward to it, getting outside and getting hands-on and learning some really interesting skills. And you've got your Facebook page as well, and I saw you've got videos that you're doing them once. Are you doing it every Thursday?
Yes, Thursday, 4 p.m, Potter Around Wild Harvest. And the idea of it is that each week we'll look at kind of a different topic that we cover here. And it's just a 20-minute chat about kind of that topic, really. So we've talked about the oak and all the different uses. We've talked about how to start foraging safely and sustainably. And one of my favourite subjects is the natural toiletries. So like how we can reduce imports and toxic chemicals with the things that are growing around us. Next week, I've actually got my bushcraft guy coming. He's going to come and do a leatherwork talk. So Thursday afternoons at 4 p.m. It's just to give a little bit of free content during lockdown, really. So
it's a really good idea. I'll try my best to make sure more people see it as well. You know, I mean, the reason I set this website up is just to do my little bit to help people get more attention. I mean, you seem to be doing really well anyway. I mean, I was looking at all, you know, like you've got loads of people following you, and it's, you know, that's really encouraging to see.
But if you think we only really got online kind of, even though I've been in business 15 years ago, because it was very small part-time around the kids in a rural dale, I didn't have any online presence really for the first, I don't know, maybe 8 years. So I've had to kind of catch up a little bit over the last 8 years or so. Yeah.
I mean, it's like a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's because it's like, you know, for me, I'd rather be, I mean, I'm stuck indoors talking to you, asking you about all these lovely things you're doing, but in reality, I'd love to be able to be doing them myself, you know, but that's just not how my life is at the minute. And obviously that other work that I've been involved in, I felt that I needed to do that. But, you know, there'll be a lot of people like me who would really love to be doing it, but they're maybe not in a position to do that. And so they can sit and watch it on social media and hopefully one day actually get the chance to go and have a try. But at the same time, for you, I mean, does it take up a lot of your time actually having to deal with all this stuff on the computer and internet? Is it?
Yeah, and it's kind of a bit of a joke, but it's also a little bit of an irk, if you like, in that I now teach a lifestyle that was my lifestyle. Because the business, when it got bigger, then it does require you to be on the computer more, you know, because I'm a one-man band, really. I've got staff, teaching staff and staff that work on the TiPis site, but on the computer side, it's just me. So I do spend a lot of time on the computer. Yeah. So because I do like designing the websites, dealing with inquiries, all of that. So the irony is living the lifestyle that I'm teaching now. However, this year I made an effort to change that, and kind of building more time for me to do the things that are naturally me again back in my life. Because often I think when you're a woman, you're not just trying to build a business up, but you've got everybody else to look after as well. You know, I've got, like I say, 4 kids at home at the moment. I cared for 2 elderly granddads, and you know, I was the main carer of both of them. So a lot. This year is the year to kind of build the me back into my life.
I think that's really important. I mean, that's like, I've had to learn that myself in the last 6 months as well, you know, like the work that I've been doing last year, just, it's good. I'm not complaining that I was doing it, but I was looking after an auntie who was dying at the same time. And yeah, you just kind of doing things for other people, which is great, and I'd never change it. But at the same time, sometimes you kind of forget that you need to take care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't do anything really, can you? You know, it's like, you know, and I had an illness where I was sort of pretty much bedbound, and well, not bedbound, housebound for nearly 6 years, and you know. Yeah,
wow.
I know.
I cannot imagine that at all.
I know, it was horrific, but you kind of I got to a stage where I was very fortunate, because I've got a lovely family taking care of me, and my husband was amazing, and we've no children, and but I kind of got to a space where I just let go of so many attachments. You probably know what I mean by attachments, you know, like, and I just got to a sort of stage where I found some kind of peace amongst it all. And then, you know, I tried lots of different things to get better, obviously. But then I started to practice Falun Gong, and I got better, and I found out they're being killed for their organs, and I just went, whoosh, you know. But now I'm kind of, I feel like the world's paying attention now. It's time for me to kind of do something a bit more nurturing.
Have you read Eckhart Tolle? Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now?
Yeah. Years ago, I read that.
Yeah, well, he talks about carrying the pain burden of the world, doesn't he? And it's not a useful thing, because it can't actually achieve anything. So
yeah, it's
action,
really
action.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I think that we did achieve quite a lot in the way that we've made people aware of what's going on. You know, then it's up to them whether they decide to act on it. You know, it's like giving people that conscious choice. You know. Okay, so you've got all these amazing skills and knowledge and wisdom that you can pass on to other people. Where did you get that from?
I'm a ferocious learner, really, but also I had a good role model in my dad, in that if he needed to do something, he would just read a Hayes manual and fix his car, or he wasn't a builder, but he built a bungalow. He'd either go to a night class and learn how to do something, or read a book. It was in the days before the internet, and he just did it. Like every night I was at some different club or other. And it was always expected I did well at school. So there was always this kind of learning drive there. And I think once it became my choice what to learn, the drive was, because I could, you know, choose all these different things. Yeah, so just decided to have a year this year of getting a lot more skills under my belt. So it kind of goes right back to seeing my dad doing and making and learning, but also this kind of inner drive to learn. That's still very much ferociously there, even like right up to now. You know, I was booked on the day skipper course for learning to motor a boat this year. Navigation course, a bushcraft course with some kind of big guy from America. He was coming over, so I was booked on. And my navigation tutors award. There were some other things. So yes, I'm still on the learning journey, really. But books, it was the old-fashioned way, mostly books, and just being out in nature and like doing it.
Just meeting nice people, interesting people who are doing these sort of things as well, and with the same idea, probably just to keep them going and pass them on. I know that, like, a lot of, you know, I talk a lot about China, because I kind of, you know, for the last 10 years I've learned, you know, some things about China, and they used to have a lot of wisdom and knowledge, didn't they? And you know, we sort of think about a lot of things that have been passed down from them over the centuries, and a lot of things that they actually they took a lot of the things to the grave with them. You know, they didn't pass them on, they kept them secret, and I imagine there's been so much stuff lost. I'm sure it's happened everywhere, but you know, to keep it open and accessible to people is just much more beneficial, I think.
That's one of the reasons that I wanted to write my book, Barefoot Self-Reliance, because I thought I don't want the feeling about me dying and then all the things that I've learned like going with me, because I've got a daughter and it's kind of my legacy for my daughter, so that she might not relate to it now, but later when she has children, she's 21, you know, when she has children, she can come back to that book, and then all of my experience and my, like, the things that I've learned and done then it goes on a generation, and then hopefully she'll pass it on. So
No,
yeah, that kind of lost cultures. It's a shame, isn't it? We have to do what we can.
So another sort of deep question to ask you is, why do you think it's so important that we're keeping these things alive? I mean, I obviously have got my own reasons. I'm just interested to see what you...
Yeah, for me, it's not about the traditions themselves. It's about the people. It's about the need of the people to have these skills rather than the skills themselves carrying on. Because we live in a very, very interconnected world, and it's like a spider's web. I've explained it before on the video, but it's like a spider's web. And like a spider's web, it can look very strong and functional, but it's very easy to break. So because of long chain distribution, and our supplies come in along this long chain, you know, we're very vulnerable, and I want the power to be back in the hands of the individual people, to know how to create light, to know how to create heat, and how to get their food.
I think it's really important to empower people so they know what to do. I mean, you know, if somebody suddenly switches off the lights, people are going to need to know what to do, aren't they?
The reason why we need to learn these skills changes from year to year, but the fundamental skills again, because we are vulnerable. I was asked to comment on Monty Don, you know, Monty Don the gardener. He'd said that self-sufficiency was a non-starter. So the press got in touch with me and they said, you know, so what do you think? And I said, well, on an individual level, self-sufficiency is almost impossible, total self-sufficiency. But on a family or community level, it's possible. Called Tools for Conviviality. He talks about kind of putting power back into communities, having first aid responders in each community, you know, having allotments, having community care within the community. So then it's kind of community level self-reliance. So then whatever happens, whether it's like the nuclear war we were worried about in the 60s, or the pandemic of the 90s, or, you know, peak oil of the 90s, I should say, pandemic of the 2000s, we have that community level self-reliance, but that can only happen if the individuals in the community have the skills to pull together. Yeah. So that's my passion. It's reskilling the individual so they can go away and form a useful community.
But when those sort of things happen, then it'd probably take a lot of pressure off people, because they'd be prepared anyway for whatever happened, you know. They would be prepared, wouldn't they?
Well, the government's own national security strategy, it says that we need to foster domestic resilience in order to counter any kind of threat. And, you know, I posit the question, have we got any domestic resilience left? We used to in the Second World War, because people could bake, they could knit, they could sew, they could light fires, grow vegetables. You know, we had that domestic resilience. But the question today is, do we have that left? We've got a generation of tech kids who wouldn't know how to secure food at all, never mind bake, a lot of them. So we need to kind of, part of self-reliance, individual self-reliance, is to create community level self-reliance, which is to create country level domestic resilience.
Have we actually been allowed to be able to have this kind of self-reliability?
Yeah, I think one of the, like I say, it goes back to time, which goes back to money. And while we have certain economic situations, it's very difficult for the common man to find the time to develop the self-reliance skills. So then it perpetuates that kind of attachment to the status quo, doesn't it? Because you can't break free, because you've got to pay your rent. So you haven't got time to go and get all these skills, because you're in that wheel of earning to live, to earn to live. That's why I do like YouTube, because it empowers people to learn skills on an evening. You know, I think we should ban television, and if anybody wants to sit and watch the screen, we should make them watch a how-to video on YouTube or something.
I think I learn a lot of stuff on YouTube. Yeah, I do as well. You know, like simple things like how to grow an onion from a scrap, you know, and things. It's like, oh, I didn't even know you could do that. You know, it's like... So at the minute, we've got all these little pots, you know, like on the windowsills of like things growing. They're not looking very healthy, some of them, but just a bit.
Yeah, I've got a tub of those. But I mean, obviously for me, it was books, because of the time that I was doing my learning in. But now it's kind of, we've got YouTube, haven't we? I've still got all my books, but And I still prefer books as a way of learning, but basically, if you are the kind of person after work you're tired and you just want to, you just want to watch some TV, there is still a little opportunity to learn.
Hopefully everything will turn around and we'll start going in the right direction, and people will start to value these things a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I think there's definitely optimism now of coming out of the lockdown period, because I've already had people inquiring again, this week about some of the courses I've got coming up. So they must in their mind be thinking, right, we're going to come out of this soon, and I know I want some of these skills.
Are you actually completely self-sufficient then?
No, I lived in a caravan for a few years with the kids, with no toilet, no electricity, nothing. But now where we are, you have to go with your children when they get to teenage years. They didn't want to go to school smelling of wood smoke, and well, actually it was cow shit I used to burn. But basically, kind of, they want more people around them. They have a right to have a social life. My daughter's school, we were at the Steiner School in the North Yorkshire Moors, and her class shut down because it was such small numbers. So we moved to the nearest Steiner School, which was York. So then we got a normal house, and I went with, you have to go with where the kids are,
Yeah.
I will go back to living off grid in not too distant a future, because my youngest child is now 16. So soon my life will be my own again, and I will go and live in my little cabin in the woods.
That sounds really nice.
So shall I say bye for now?
Yeah, love. But keep in touch, won't you? And thank you. I really appreciate it. I really do. It's like you're like a breath of fresh air for me, and I'm sure that anybody who's going to watch this are just going to be, I'm sure they'll be wanting to know more. And if we keep going the way we are with this website, because it's all very new, we've got lots of contacts all over the place, and it's a bit of a strange time to not be able to actually get out and meet people and try things and write about it, but we're just doing it with goodwill and to do a little bit to help. So hopefully people will
I'll share your page, I'll share your website as well. I'll share your website on Wild Harvest. Okay,
it's very basic, but thank you. All right then, Di.
I'll see you later.
Take care. Lots of love.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.